Hello everybody and welcome back to another TOC weather forecast video. I haven't made one of these in a long time, probably since last year. But now, instead of tropical weather, which was the topic of the last one, now we're doing was severe weather. If it sounds weird, I have the flu, so yeah. But we could see a very consequential Dixie events on Saturday. Looking at this risk, the main things I see with this are a very conditional risk for discrete supercells ahead of the QLCS, which we will get at night. And we're going to talk about some things like forcing. That's a big concern if we will get enough forcing for storms to develop. But yeah, let's just dive right into it. Starting here on the ARRR model, this is 18Z, which was just like a few hours ago when this came out. Let's first look at dew points. This is one thing I want to come out on or talk about. We have lots of moisture evacuation according to the ARRR. However, moisture is not the only thing you need for outbreaks like this, although it is a very important key component that is there and will most likely cause an ample tornado threat more into the overnight hours due to something I'm about to talk about. What I am about to talk about is forcing. Let's go to GFS's trough before I go to the NAM trough. But you could see, it's scrolling too fast. Let me just show you. This is our trough. This is into the night, probably like 9 p.m. or so. Maybe 6 p.m. I don't know my Z to ED or EST times. But yeah, this is our trough. You can see it kind of has a positive tilt to it. This is our open warm sector. It is far away from the trough. The trough geometry does not look good at all for events where you have multiple rounds of semi-discrete supercells or discrete supercells in an open warm sector. My bad, can't speak. But yeah, the open warm sector is quite far from the trough. That is going to be an issue for storms if they do form and want to mature in the open warm sector. I don't think they will be able to get the spin going looking at this trough, or I don't even think there will be storms earlier at like 5 p.m. because of the forcing, unless something changes. If the trough becomes more negatively tilted and it's like this at like 5 p.m., then yeah, this is a negative tilted trough that you want to see or don't want to see. But if you want to see tornadoes, then this is what you want to see. For people, this is not good. This trough, again, I think there's going to be QLCS that spams weaker tornadoes. Maybe we can even have some significant tornadoes from that QLCS. But into the overnight hours in the evening, due to this trough taking a better shape, I think we could see more discrete supercells develop at night. That's what you need to look for in a setup like this. Don't focus or don't go to sleep. Don't just shut this whole thing down in your mind if you live in like Mississippi, Alabama when it's nighttime, because that is when I think it's going to peak and it's really going to start happening, is at night due to this trough. Now let's go to the NAM model, which is a great model to look at for some nautics far out, because there's really nothing else to look at. Of course, I'm going to look at a ton of other things if I can get my scrolling correct. But yeah, this is the trough. Again, even worse on here. You could see positively tilted sort of at that time, but I think Sunday's going to have a big threat as well. Sunday and Saturday are going to be big days. I think Sunday's going to have a QLCS with lots of tornadoes. You can see the trough definitely falls apart. More into North Carolina, further into the day, I think it's going to die out. There isn't as much instability or anything over here. But however, into the early morning hours, into the morning, this QLCS could produce multiple strong and tornadoes, potentially, if there's enough instability by then. But there definitely is forcing for cells to develop at I'm talking, 3 a.m. It's gonna be a weird setup to track. But yeah, let's go to HRRR again. Actually, let's go to the NAM ST model 18Z. You can see that moisture advection start. You can see this is a good moisture advection, of course. Very nice moisture advection. And then that QLCS comes through, and there would be discrete supercells everywhere in front of here if there's more forcing. And this is also the NAM model, which you don't use really at all for looking at this type of thing. But we had to watch these. I know it looks like a bunch of slop right now on here, but it probably won't going into this day. And of course, it is still 3 days out. It could change a lot, and I will make a video tomorrow as well. Surface-based cape. Again, nothing spectacular at all. We have like 500 cape up here, no cape up here. Really, it's not looking like it's too spectacular at all on the NAM right now. Based on what I've been seeing, this QLCS is definitely going to have a little pack to punch, but right here is where we're going to see most of that tornado threat through Mississippi. So be prepared if you're there. I know people who think this is going to be a tornadic driven event. I personally think this event is going to be driven by wind based on the current situation on models. SDP, again, significant tornado parameter, there just isn't much to this event. The QLCS again could produce strong tornadoes through the Mississippi River Valley, bordering Arkansas and into Louisiana, those type of areas. But it just doesn't look like anything too spectacular. We have southwest flow, which is not even that strong. Let's just pull out a sounding right here. Open warm sector into the day. If a storm is able to form, this is what it's gonna look like once it loads. I'll wait for that. Next, we're gonna look at the wrap model. Just look at everything on here. 21Z is gonna be a lot better, but we'll have to use 15Z. This is what that trough looks like on the wrap model. Of course, it isn't far out enough, but again, positively tilted trash. Like, this is not, honestly, this is very good if you live in like areas near Louisiana, because usually there is not any strong convective development or discrete convective development anyways there, so that's a plus. And also, they're just gonna be forcing later past storms in Louisiana. Of course, we still could get storms in these areas, but I think it's gonna be pushed more into Alabama, Mississippi, maybe even Georgia for Sunday. One thing I'm going to take a peek at is the day 4 discussion. I know it says no area, but it definitely says a strong level axis. Yeah, the only question mark with this area is destabilization. I don't think there will be much. That's why I think there will be like a slight risk at most, but there definitely could be a tornado or two in those areas. Again, this is our sounding. The hodograph is, good for tornadoes. You can see LCL, lit index, a cape, low. However, the 3 cape is 110. 3 cape is good. A 110 3 cape is not that bad at all. That's a massive cap inversion. If we're ever going to get, that much discrete development, the cap cannot be that strong. That is the strongest cap I've seen in a while, and we do have some contamination maybe? I don't really see any. But yeah. There's a lot more problems with this event that I cannot put into one video, but I do think it's something we need to keep an eye on. we need to still watch day 3. Again, this is our outlook. Some larger population centers you can see. We have Shreveport, Louisiana, Jackson, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Bossier City, Louisiana, and Monroe, Louisiana. Slight risk areas, we have Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, New Orleans, Atlanta, Birmingham. And the marginal risk, Houston, Lexington, Kentucky, through Knoxville, Tennessee, Pasadena, Texas, and Clarksville, Tennessee. Those are some of the more populated areas that are going to be in that marginal, slight, and enhanced risk. Going to our probabilistic, again, this does not mean this is total severe probability. This does not mean tornado, wind, or hail. It means all of it combined. And the highest risk of all combined hazards is through central Mississippi, western Alabama, northern Louisiana, and southeastern Arkansas. Again, we could have severe weather all the way through Kentucky, though I think that's going to be more of a flooding threat, which I will go to next. Again, this is still an intense risk. Looking at the wording, again, a few supercells may be possible. The threat for large hail, severe wind gusts, and maybe a few tornadoes after 00Z. That's when that trough starts to move eastward and becomes more negatively tilted, allowing more forcing. A squall line, again, will start to advance across the southeast and will pose a threat for widespread severe wind gusts and some line-embedded tornadoes, again, giving these photographs. But yeah, these are more things. 1,000 and 2,000 Cape, moderately unstable. Again, I wouldn't treat this like a insane risk, but I would definitely watch it. Definitely watch it. Through the next few days, I will, again, make a new video tomorrow. But this day's not looking as bad as it did days ago. Which I didn't even know how it looked like, but apparently looked worse. But yeah, this is the moderate risk for flash flooding. Again, if you're anywhere from northern Mississippi all the way through southern Ohio, through West Virginia, northwestern Virginia, you need to be watching out for flooding. Extreme flooding, I think we may even get a high risk for excessive rainfall. Going to our HRRR, Model 18Z, you could see all that rain up here. Let me go to a different sector. You can see all this rain. This is going to cause a flash flooding threat for Saturday. So yeah, again today, California. There's also a flash flooding threat there. To this is north of Ventura, Oxnard, through, I think that's a mountainous area. I don't know California that well. But yeah, watch out for that if you're there. Today doesn't look like much. There's a tornado threat in California, so if you're in Sacramento, through other areas around there in the valley, then watch out for some storms. You may even get a tornado or two today. This is the discussion. You can just pause the video and read through it. But I'm not going to dive too deep into this at all. Another thing I'm going to take a quick peek at. Let's look at how the end zone pattern's doing. I know I'm going to look at something that you're not really supposed to look at. But, again, we're still in a La Nina. By the looks of it, we're going a little bit up. So, yeah. We're still in a La Nina. It's probably going to stay that way for quite a while. Maybe into summer, may go back to a El Nino because that's just how it is sometimes. But yeah, again, final key point, Saturday. It needs more forcing from the trough for there to be discrete supercell development. However, there will be a QLCS that will bring damaging winds, potentially hail, and tornadoes. That's one thing you need to be worrying about through Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, some areas of Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, northern Florida, maybe even South Carolina, North Carolina on Sunday. Today there's a 2% risk for tornadoes in the Sacramento area that you should be looking a little bit at. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll keep y'all updated. But this is me signing off, and I will be live on Saturday to cover that event. Also, Sunday if it's needed.